Welcome to Veganize It Wednesday. We are making black bean burgers today. So I got this recipe off of Pinterest. It was cilantro black bean burgers. They used an egg in the recipe, and we made these last week with an egg, but I am going to make them vegan this week. For this recipe, you are going to need 4 cups of beans or 2 cans. I have 2 cups here and 2 cups here. And then you are going to need a 1/4 cup of tofu. So this is going to substitute for the egg. 1/3 cup of cilantro, which I just took a whole bushel of cilantro and put it in here because we love cilantro. You're going to need 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs, maybe a little bit more. 1/2 lime, 2 garlic cloves. You're going to need 1/2 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder, and 1 teaspoon of cumin, and 1/2 cup of corn. And then some hamburger buns, which I forgot to take out, but you'll need some buns, and then any of your fixings that you want on your hamburger. Obviously, it's not a cheeseburger. There's no cheese this week. Last week we had cheese, but not this week. So I have some red onions here, some tomatoes, and then I marinated some mushrooms in a little bit of balsamic vinegar and oil, and then some lettuce. So let's get started. I used dried beans for this recipe. I started with a pot of water, added 1.5 cups of dried beans. I brought that water to a simmer and then turned off the heat, covered the pot, and let them sit and soak for a good couple hours. After that couple hours were up, I drained the pot and rinsed the beans really well. And then I added them back to the pot and filled it with water up until the top of the beans so that all the beans were covered. I added a little bit of better than bouillon vegetable base, and I covered them and let them simmer until all of the water was gone. To half of the bean mixture, this could be either 1 can or 2 cups of beans, I added the tofu, the cilantro, 2 garlic cloves, the seasonings, the juice of the 1/2 lime, and I blended that all together. Once everything is well incorporated, you should have a big blob of mush. You can add that blob to the other 2 cups of beans. Then you'll add your corn, and once that's all incorporated, you'll add your breadcrumbs. Once everything is nice and mixed, you can form your patties. This recipe should make about 8 patties. I start them off as little balls, and then I put them in a hot pan with a little bit of oil, and I press them down to form a little more patty shape. After about 3 to 4 minutes, they should be ready to flip. I usually shake the pan just a little bit. If they come loose from the bottom, then they're most likely ready to flip. And now you dress your burgers. I just used ketchup, mustard, lettuce. I used mushrooms that were marinated in balsamic just to give it that little bite that might be missing from the lack of cheese, and tomatoes and red onions. Last week when we made these with an egg instead of the tofu, we were pretty impressed with the consistency of the patty. It was very similar to eating meat, obviously not the same. This week it was a little more mushy, so I don't know if maybe adding some more breadcrumbs might help with that. We just served ours with some potato hash browns with a little bit of ketchup on top. This is our most favorite black bean burger recipe that we've made. I think the cilantro really adds to the flavor, and we'll definitely make this again.